The Senate has passed the Inflation Reduction Act, which if you've been listening to the show or watching the show consistently over the last couple of weeks, you know I've been very excited about this piece of legislation and following it very closely. It's going to do a lot of really good things, and we're going to talk about that in just a second here. But first, I'll just say up front, I recognize and feel and resonate with the fact that this is not enough. It's not close to what would match this moment, both in regard to the climate crisis and also economic factors that we should be addressing. All of those things, we should be doing more to help Americans, and I recognize that, I feel it, and we'll continue to advocate for that. But understanding the current situation in Washington, we have Joe Manchin, extremely conservative, to be in the Democratic Party, with Kirsten Sinema, who's an obstructionist on many issues. And so understanding those two big factors and all of the kind of messed up stuff that we are aware of within Washington, in kind of what hinders their ability to effectively represent us, it's pretty amazing that they're going to pass something, or that they pass something in the Senate and then it'll move on to the House and hopefully get signed into law by Joe Biden. It's pretty amazing. And I think it's something to celebrate. I think if you want to stay sane following American politics, you have to take the wins whenever we get them. You have to celebrate whenever we get a success like this. And so that's the position I'm taking. I'm really excited. I'm happy that the Senate has passed the Inflation Reduction Act, even though I totally recognize it's not enough. But it's more than I thought we were going to get. I should put it that way. At the beginning of Biden's administration, I should say, I thought we were going to get a good bit based on what he proposed. The original Build Back Better proposal was really, really significant. And so comparing this to that, dang it, but comparing this to what at this moment I thought we were going to get, which was nothing, is super exciting. And it is significant, and it is historic in many ways. So what does it do? It's called the Inflation Reduction Act, so it does work a little bit to address inflation by paying down the deficit, taking some of the demand out of the economy, and I think that's a good move. Quickly, I'll note that, of course, since this is Joe Manchin's compromise bill, he did get a little bit of goodies in there for the oil and gas industry. So there's some kind of leases that are going to be handed out because Joe Manchin wanted that in there. But okay, if we had to give that out to satisfy him to get the bill passed, I'm all right with that. But then there's a lot of climate change provisions, as well as ways of helping Americans in regard to lowering prescription drug costs, expanding health insurance, and then, as I mentioned, directly giving people tax credits to buy electric vehicles and investing in trying to lower energy costs, all those good things. So reading a little bit about this on the topic of lessening drug prescription costs, quote, proposed legislation would cap your out-of-pocket spending at $2,000 and limit drug price increases for Medicare and private insurance. For reference, in 2022, the catastrophic threshold that Medicare recipients must pay out of pocket before getting most of the prescription costs covered is $7,050. Wow. So $2,000 is now going to be the cap, making more affordable healthcare coverage by extending the Affordable Care Act insurance coverage to people because it was set to expire. Medical insurance premiums under the Affordable Care Act are set to expire at the end of 2022. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services says that these subsidies allowed 4.5 million people to sign up for health insurance coverage. And according to a statement from the Office of the President, the Inflation Reduction Act would lock in healthcare premiums to save an average of $800 annually for 13 million people. So helping people in the area of health insurance under the Affordable Care Act. Tax rebates and credits, and this is falling under the climate change provisions for energy and climate change. The proposed legislation includes energy security and climate change investments that would lower energy costs, increase clean energy production, and reduce carbon emissions by roughly 40% by 2030. 40% cutting greenhouse gases, carbon emissions. Really, really exciting. This provision will also offer tax rebates and credits for households to lower their energy costs and incentivize taxpayers to help reach clean energy and carbon emission reduction goals. So within the climate change or climate response provisions, there is the federal tax credit of $7,500 for people who are purchasing electric vehicles. That's really good because I think a lot of people want to purchase an electric vehicle. You can save money on gas. Obviously, it's the way of the future in regard to green energy, but it is more expensive on average to buy an electric vehicle than a gas-powered vehicle. And so by including in this bill a tax credit of $7,500 to people who purchase an electric vehicle, and then $4,000 if you purchase a used electric vehicle. So for new ones, $7,500, or a used ones, $4,000. That can make a significant dent in the upfront cost of purchasing an electric vehicle and encourage more people to do so. And then, of course, if you have that on top of understanding the savings you get in not having to pay for gas, it can make it a very, very appealing option to more people. So exciting stuff. I think inflation's on everyone's mind. So the fact that, first of all, it's titled that, but then also it is trying to pay down the deficit to take some of the demand out of the economy. Okay, good job taxing the people at the top a little bit more to do so. Awesome. You're investing in climate change response actions. One of the things I left out but had read up on was there's also investments in giving huge funds to companies, corporations for investing in green energy, solar, wind, etc. So that's kind of the way that the industries move, which is absolutely what we should be doing. I've said, as many have for a very long time, that eventually we will get to fully green energy. We will get to a place where all these industries, just under the capitalistic market, get there, but they're not going fast enough. And so that's when a government is effective to step in and nudge those industries in that direction through either incentives or particular regulations. And then on the consumer, putting in place incentives so that they buy electric vehicles, and then investing in lowering energy costs and investing in lowering carbon emissions. And the expectation is all of the provisions in this bill combined will lower emissions by 40%, carbon emissions by 40% in the next decade, which is very significant and very exciting. So I'm sure there's things, it's a massive bill that I left out, but those are some big prominent parts. I do think super, super popular, allowing Medicare to negotiate drug prices. And so as we looked in that first provision, it's going to decrease the cost of prescription drugs for Americans, which is absolutely necessary. They've gotten completely outrageous. So overall, really good bill. I'm really excited about it. Again, it does not do what Build Back Better would have done as it was originally proposed. It doesn't do what I think this moment calls for, but it does do a lot. And the fact that we got someone like Joe Manchin on board with that is really exciting. And I think people are going to notice the effects of this bill. And I will just add on the end of this segment that it passed the Senate. And the reason why I'm kind of just already sending off the fireworks is because that was the big obstacle. The House is going to be able to pass it. There's a larger Democratic majority in the House, and they have an easier time passing legislation like this. And then Biden, it's already something he's committed to signing into law. So the Senate was what we had to get it through. I have no doubt it'll get through the House and then be signed into law by Biden. Hasn't been done yet, so we'll have a little bit more of a moment when that happens, but it got through the hardest part.